Hello and welcome to video 2 explaining how to complete the survey and what happens after you have completed the survey. To complete the survey, you first need to consent to participation. By scrolling to the bottom of this introductory page, you can click the arrow button to advance to the consent form. Throughout the survey, you'll need to click on the arrow button at the bottom of each page to progress through the survey. On the consent form, you'll find a series of non-optional items which you need to agree to progress to the survey, and two optional items, one of which is consenting to me keeping your contact details on record for the purposes of informing you of the results of the study should you wish. The second is permission for me to contact you to participate in the online consensus meeting later in the study. Lastly, you need to enter your name, the date, and electronically sign the consent form. Next is the survey. The survey is split into two parts, Part A and Part B. Part A asks for details about yourself and your experience with anal HSIL. Part B is the Delphi survey and is the same for all participants. The Delphi survey comprises 85 questions. Each question represents an effect of treatment termed an outcome to be considered for inclusion in the core outcome set. The survey covers the entire spectrum of treatment effects or outcomes possible with anal HSIL treatments, which accounts for the large number of questions. It is important that participants have the opportunity to rate the whole spectrum of potential effects of anal HSIL treatments. That way, no assumptions about what is important have been made, and equal opportunity has been given to each outcome to determine its importance. You'll be asked to score each outcome on a scale of 1 to 9 as to how important you think it is to include that particular outcome in a core outcome set for future late-phase anal HSIL treatment trials, and therefore it be measured and reported in all future trials of that kind. On the scale, 1 is not important at all for inclusion in the core outcome set, and 9 is critically important for inclusion in the core outcome set. The survey takes approximately 60 to 90 minutes to complete, including the time taken watching these videos. Your answers are saved automatically as you progress, so you can complete the survey in as many sittings as you like. Just use the survey link that you've used to start the survey, and you'll restart where you left off. Your participation in the survey is voluntary, and you have the right to withdraw at any point during the study. Some outcomes have free text boxes for you to add more detail if needed. In the interest of confidentiality, please do not complete any of the free text boxes with any potentially identifiable information, such as names or places. It's not expected that you'll have the knowledge or experience to answer every question in the survey. As previously mentioned, the survey is extensive. It covers a broad range of outcomes related to different treatments for anal HSIL, different subgroups of the population, and different disease extents. Where outcomes are only applicable to a particular treatment or population, this has been specified. Your experience of each outcome will vary depending on your situation and experience with the condition. It's unlikely that you will have encountered or had discussed with you all of the potential outcomes listed within this survey. You should rely on your lived experience to rate the outcomes in the survey. In essence, your personal experience with each outcome. After considering the outcome and its description, if you feel you can't answer, just click Unable to score. Everyone has a different experience. We are interested in what outcomes you think are most important to be measured in anal HSIL treatment trials. Specifically, the purpose of this research is to identify outcomes that are of most importance, meaning those outcomes that are so important that they should be measured and reported routinely in all future late-phase treatment trials testing anal HSIL treatments, and as such should be included in the core outcome set. As a reminder, if an outcome doesn't make it into the final core outcome set, it doesn't mean that it can't or won't be measured and reported in future studies. Researchers testing anal HSIL treatments have the freedom to add any other outcomes they deem important or relevant to their particular study, in addition to those outcomes included in the core outcome set. Now for a word on adverse event outcomes. These are types of unwanted or unintended effects of treatment, such as side effects, adverse reactions, harms, negative effects, toxicities, or complications of treatment. For example, the development of anal fissures after treatment, anal bleeding, pain, or different types of infections, and in some instances, death. It's considered best practice for researchers of treatments to report on all adverse events or effects that occur in a treatment study. Because the list of treatment effects or outcomes in this survey has in part been generated from treatment effects measured and reported in treatment studies to date, adverse events or effects feature heavily in the survey. Consequently, the survey can seem daunting, particularly for patient participants with less experience of anal HSIL treatment. To reassure, for the majority of people treated for anal HSIL, severe adverse events or effects with long-lasting consequences are infrequent occurrences. Even though it is considered best practice to report on adverse events or effects when they occur, they're not always specifically asked about or measured specifically, such as detail about severity, length of time a person was affected by the adverse event, or other impacts. From a core outcome set perspective, when considering specific adverse events or effects for inclusion in the core outcome set, you should consider those as most important, being any adverse event or effect for which you feel should be specifically asked about, measured, and reported routinely in all future late phase treatment trials. If you need any further support or have any questions about the survey at any point, then please just contact me using the email address detailed in the written instructions below, and I'll help. In terms of what happens after you complete the survey, a Delphi survey requires participants to retake the same survey after receiving feedback on how other participants taking the survey have scored the questions. Once a sufficient number of replies have been received, the study team summarize the response from the group as a whole. This group summary is sent back to you for you to consider, along with an invitation to retake the survey after considering the feedback. The feedback essentially comprises a reminder of how you scored the outcome last time, and then the range of scores of the rest of the group for each outcome. This is referred to as round 2 of the Delphi process. In round 2, participants only need to retake the Delphi survey part of the questionnaire. And you'll already be familiar with the format of the questionnaire, so it's unlikely to be as time-consuming as round 1. In the feedback, no one in the group can see another individual's scores. They can only see the overall results for the group as a whole. Using this information, you'll be asked to reflect on your own view and on the view of the group and decide whether to stick with your original rating or change it. Through the whole process, no one is under any pressure to change their rating if they don't want to. It's perfectly fine to stick with their original rating even if they rated the outcome differently to the rest of the group. In terms of how long you might wait between taking a survey for the first time and then retaking the survey, as explained, we need to wait for a sufficient number of responses to the survey before we can summarize the survey. The survey will be open for a minimum of 6 weeks, and we anticipate approximately 2 to 4 weeks to summarize the responses. Depending on when you complete the survey, there could be anywhere between 2 and 10 weeks between you completing the survey and being invited to retake the survey. It's probable, though, that we will extend the time that the survey is open for completion. Should this happen, it may be a little longer than predicted before you're invited to retake the survey. It is anticipated that 2 rounds of the survey will be sufficient to move towards consensus, or in other words, agreement on what is important. However, once the study team have analysed the results of round 2, should a move towards consensus not be seen, you may be asked to complete the survey a 3rd time. It is vital to the completeness of the project that you participate in round 2 of the survey. At the end of all rounds of the survey, I'll invite participants who have completed all rounds of the survey and indicated willingness on the consent form to get together online via Zoom to discuss the results in a meeting termed a consensus meeting. The timing of the meeting is dependent on the findings of the Delphi survey, and therefore at this stage is difficult to schedule, though we estimate roughly the meeting to take place early in 2025. You'll be given at least 6 weeks' notice of the date and time of the consensus meeting. At the end of this process, the study team, myself, will produce a report on what the participants have agreed as the most important outcomes to be routinely measured in future studies testing anal HSIL treatments, i.e. the core outcome set. In terms of further information, before you undertake the survey, you might find the short video at the bottom of this page helpful in explaining core outcome sets and their development further. You can also find links to the study participant information sheets at the bottom of the page should you like to read them. Finally, a massive thank you for participating in the survey. Your opinions, expertise, and commitment are critical to the success of this research, and I'm really grateful to you for this. If you feel comfortable with what is required, then please scroll to the bottom of this page and advance to start the survey. Thank you.